Welcome to this month's Magic Divorce Club workshop. And today I wanted to talk about body confidence because we're in that month where everyone's like, let's get bikini ready. And I think the body is one of the things that gets mistreated the most when you're going through divorce. So as women, I think that we're taught from really quite early on that we need to ignore our feelings. You might have been told you were oversensitive, or you just got this sense that you had to behave in a certain way in order to be safe. And so we have a history anyway of diminishing our own experiences. Like, for example, I didn't know anything about my own cycle until I got divorced. So I'm in my late 30s and I'm like, a friend said, when are you due on? And I was like, I don't fucking know, like soon, could be any time. So it got me to thinking like, how have I got to this age and had two children and I don't know a thing about my own cycle? So that led me down an interesting path of like, I read a great book called Period Power by Maisie Hill. And that got me starting to really notice how I feel and how utterly mind-blowing it is being a woman on a monthly basis, like the ebbs and the flows. And with it came a certain amount of what's the word? Like comfort, knowing it's just today potentially and not necessarily tomorrow anyway. But that's an aside. We're also taught to squash our own intuition. Like I think the motherhood journey can be quite fraught with feeling like this doesn't feel right instinctively, um, but their experts are telling me to do something else. Um, I think we often are encouraged to do things that we don't want to do, um, and things that make us feel uncomfortable. We're taught the whole thing about hysterical women and oversensitive women, and we're like, don't want to be one of those. You know, the whole 90s was about like, we've got to be up for it and we've got to do whatever we want. But also, could you clean the house and do all of the child rearing and all that kind of stuff? Um, we hear about women who are a nightmare. You know, if you've started dating since you've split up with your ex, you'll know that it's rife with men going on about what a nightmare their ex is. And yeah, we basically don't want to be one of them. So we learn to mask our feelings, we learn to gaslight ourselves, and to generally just think there just must be something wrong with the way I'm doing things. And what I found with divorce is that it did something to my body that kind of compounded all of that other stuff that I didn't even know was going on. It's just going on in the background. And you'll have your own experiences of this in different ways as well. And I got to the point where I'm like just disassociated from my body. I didn't know how I felt, I didn't know what I needed. I would have panic attacks. I would inadvertently punish myself in different ways. And the only thing I could control was my body. So it would be like I'm either eating too much, not eating enough, um, trying to do self-care, but always feeling a little bit guilty. Like all of these things um, just seem to really come to the forefront whilst going through divorce, whilst I'm trying to find my voice, whilst I'm trying to advocate for my needs. It all just sort of bubbled up and spilled over. And I'm like, I'm one of those hysterical women. When the reality is, no, it's just that my nervous system had got to the point where it had been squashed so much, it had to come out somehow. And so what I want to share today is a practice that really helped me to learn how to be in my body again. And I'm not saying that it's perfect now, but it's a practice, right? We practice doing these things, and then over time it has become easier, and I have been able to be kinder to myself. Like understanding what compassion even meant was mind blowing for me, going through therapy and everyone talks about you've got to be kind to yourself, you've got to be this. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I am. I go and get my nails done and like bullshit like that. When actually it's like, it's so much more than that. And it's the thing that we often leaned on our ex to provide for us. Like, oh, if they could just do this little kind thing, it means that I'm enough. But we can't even do it for ourselves. So, yes, what I would like to share today is the practice that helped me to re-engage with the parts of my body instead of just disassociating with them or trying to push them away, trying to shove them away. And I know some of you will have experienced that. And in this practice, I'm hoping it will start to build that rapport again and to help us hear what our bodies are trying to say, what they're trying to tell us when these things happen. So, if you could get a pen and a paper, apologies for not saying that at the beginning. Sorry. Get a drink, get a pen, get a piece of paper. I will mop my sweaty brow. Now Joy knows. And the first thing we will do is just have a little check-in, see what's going on, see how we feel. You good? Great. So I'm just going to say a few little journaling prompts and see what comes up. Don't overthink it, just see what comes out of your pen. So a bit of free writing. And if you're really into a question and I ask another one, feel free to just stay with what you're doing. It's fine. And obviously it's recorded, so you can come back anytime to do this. If you get a new sensation, you're like, I don't know what that is. This is the perfect practice to come back to and do the questions again and see what comes out. So the first thing I've got is how has your relationship with your body changed since your separation? So how are you feeling about your body? I'll say it one more time. How has your relationship with your body changed since your separation? If anything comes through and you're like, oh, I want to share that, feel free to put it in the chat. And I would love to hear it too. So one of mine that came through was I had a bit of an obsession with trying to look amazing so that he would be like, oh, look what I'm missing, as an example. Is there a part of your body that you've been at war with? Hi, Lisa. We're just going through some journaling prompts. So I've done a little introduction into what we're doing, and now we're answering a few questions. So the first question was, how has your relationship with your body changed since separation? And now the next one is there a part of your body you've been at war with? What does that war feel like? What does that war feel like? Have you had any physical symptoms? So it might be pain or tension or illness. And has it got worse since you've started your separation? So an example for me is I always have a lingering pain in the left side of my this trap muscle here. And I've done loads of meditations with it in the past. And it's been things like self-belief talk. So things that I believe to be true about me has come through when I've spent time with it. Um, but I think it's come to be more around like hypervigilance and trying to do it all on my own. That's when it gets worse, and I can feel it like up in my jaw and down the side of my neck. So that would be an example of that. Even now I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna give that a little roll. And then finally, what would it feel like to be at home in your body again? And this comes from, I did a podcast a few weeks ago with a lady called Anna who works with scarring. Don't know if you guys heard it, but it was fascinating. Like, I highly recommend you go back to that. So I'll share it in the show notes. Um, but it's like these parts of our bodies where we really do disassociate. And I was like, oh, it feels so similar to the scarrings that you get when you're going through divorce. And then she talked about how when you work with these scars, you work with these parts of your body that you're rejecting, that you can start to really feel at home again in your body. So I'm like, yeah, that's a beautiful concept. So, what was it? What would it feel like to be at home or, yeah, at home in your body? If anybody wants to share anything about what it would feel like, I'd love to hear what comes up for you. And just pop it in the chat. So I've put things like safe, trusting, content, playful, and light. Oh, gorgeous. So we've got, I've never felt at home in my body, but I've put quiet, calm, and still. That's nice. Does it feel like it's not still at the moment? Being at home in my body would feel peaceful, like recently swimming in a lake. Oh my God, I love that feeling. Like when you sink into cold water and at first it's like, and then you suddenly get that letdown of like, ah, okay, I'm all right. So being in water, I love that. Beautiful. Okay. So having read through that, just have a moment and see if you get any inkling, even just from what we've done there, of what your body needs from you right now. Sounds like you need more time in water. Jane. It is so nice. I went to meet some friends on Monday morning at Colour Coats, and I always dread it because I haven't been in for a while. And I'm like, it's going to be really cold and I'm going to be miserable. And then I get in and I'm like, obviously on the days when it's windy and raining, it's not quite so fun. But on Monday, it was just peaceful, sunny, gorgeous. Good. I'm glad you're going on Saturday. Okay. So, did you get any insights in terms of anything you know you need to do for your body out of interest? If not, that's absolutely fine. We're going to go into a practice now. And what I plan to do with this is turning it into an audio meditation, which I'll add to the workshop when it goes live so that you can take that bit and use it again. Okay. So I'll give you a moment to get yourself comfortable.